Welcome back to the table, friends. I'm your humble host, GreyDMs, and with me as always is Owen.
That's me.
Owen, what glorious future do you want to paint today?
No, we're not doing that today.
Okay. Oh, thank God.
No,
Right.
we're getting to something that, so you and I grew up we're both millennials.
Yes.
We're on the top end of millennials.
The early
Yes,
first
yes,
in line.
yes. Gen 1 millennials.
Mm-hmm. The Oregon Trail generations.
Yes. We grew up in that period where there wasn't the internet. There was this thing called the internet, and then everybody has the internet.
Yeah, we went from war games to you got mail.
Yes, yes.
In the span of a decade.
And at least in my informative years, I ran into this topic that we're going to talk about, and I feel like it shaped me, not necessarily in the best of ways, but it informed me what type of person I am at the table.
Mm-hmm. This is very interesting.
So we're going to talk about what happened to role-playing and how it evolved once it got injected with the DNA of the internet.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Some weird hybrid creature was birthed, and then a bunch of scientists had to hunt it down and kill it.
Kill it. Why is it spiders? It's always spiders.
Spiders.
So, campaigns started in basements, cafeterias, and borrowed classrooms, kept alive by notebooks, loose-leaf maps, and the patience to organize a weekend. If someone moved away, a character disappeared with them. The world ended at the edge of a phone cord. Information traveled the same way, slowly and imperfectly. Rulebooks were expensive, errata circulated through magazines, and most players never met anyone outside their local group who played the same way they did. Each town or club developed its own dialect of rules, fragments of a language that had no central grammar. Stories about legendary modules or secret expansions spread as rumors years before anyone saw a printed copy. Technology hovered at the edges of it all. A handful of early adopters programmed dice rollers or home computers or read about strange university terminals that could host text adventures like Zork. For most players, hearing about a text adventure or an early computer terminal game was strange and novel. They were used to a person, a dungeon master, describing the world aloud. The idea that a machine could take over that role and tell you in text, "You're standing in a small room, there is a door to the north," felt like science fiction. What kept the hobby alive in that pre-network age wasn't access but persistence. You learned patience because there was no alternative. Games paused for months when someone left for college or a campaign notebook was lost. Groups reformed, borrowed rules, and made their own. Every table was its own isolated civilization. The isolation didn't vanish, but it began to thin. As modems entered homes, players who had relied on local clubs or convention flyers suddenly had access to a wider circle. Message boards, email lists, and early bulletin boards made it easier to find a group, trade rules, or share a session report. The internet didn't reveal a hidden community so much as extended its reach. It turned regional scenes into a connected hobby. When household modems became affordable in the mid-1980s, role-playing met its first medium that could dissolve distance. Bulletin board systems, BBSs, sprang up across North America and Europe, connecting hobbyists through local phone lines. Each board was a small island of text menus, message threads, and file uploads. Most had a games section, but a few specialized entirely in collaborative fiction. Before the internet, people were already experimenting with ways to play across distance. One of the simplest was called play by mail. Players wrote down their moves or character decisions and mailed them to a moderator, usually the person running the game, who collected everyone's letters, worked out the results, and mailed a summary back. I move into the next room. What do I see?
Jeez. All right. I guess next month I'll find out.
Roll.
Two days later, it's like, whoops, roll perception.
The whole process could take weeks, but it allowed campaigns to exist between people who might never meet in person. When email became widely available in the late 1980s and early 90s, that same structure moved online. Play-by-email games replaced envelopes with inboxes. Players sent in their turns, and the moderator distributed the outcomes as group messages or posts. The pace was still slow and heavily text-based, but it no longer depended on postal delivery. For the first time, role-playing could continue every day instead of every month. Early news groups like recgames.frp became gathering points for these campaigns, mixing session reports, debates, and recruitment posts. The real revolution came from academia. In 1978, Roy Trebashaw and Richard Bartle at the University of Essex created MUD1, short for Multi-User Dungeon, a text world that multiple people could explore simultaneously. When it went live outside Essex in 1980, it introduced a new grammar of play: say, look, get, and kill. Later systems like Tiny Mud, LP Mud, and Deku Mud expanded on the concept, enabling players to write code that altered the world itself. What had begun as simulation became authorship. As network access expanded, a wave of commercial text worlds appeared on subscription services. Games like Island of Kasame, Gemstone, Dragon Realms, and Terrace offered persistent characters, in-game economies, and social hierarchies that resembled early MMOs. Most were hosted on services like CompuServe, Genie, or AOL, and charged by the hour, meaning a long session could cost as much as a utility bill. Still, players paid for the novelty of persistence, characters who existed after the computer was turned off. I was one of those people.
Mm-hmm. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I was lucky enough, though, that I got into it after AOL went to a subscription service instead of pay by the hour.
I was just thinking back. So, two things. One of the reasons we had such a different experience was because in the early days of the Nintendo Entertainment System, I mistakenly rented some RPG, a JRPG.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't read. And that became a fundamental choice with me in video games until Final Fantasy VII.
Wow.
So, and when I started getting into RPGs after that, I was like, why did I make that choice? I don't understand because I missed so many good games. And that affected the computer too. But what happened with the computer was we lived in a neighborhood that had a club that you could join, and they would do a lot of social activities at the club. And one of the things that happened was somebody, I don't know how this got arranged, was like, hey, I'm going to start a server for the neighborhood. And you can post stuff on the server, like if you have a sale or if you want to talk about whatever, and everybody can get a free account. And of course, the people who grew up with modems understand that a local call was free, but a long distance call or 1-800 call required money. So if you called the club, you could be online in one of their trunk lines and basically access this server. And this server had a constant connection to the internet.
Ooh.
So by using it, I could browse the internet before anybody knew that we could. And all hell broke loose. Until eventually my dad was just like, no, we just have to get AOL now.
Yeah.
And that was like right at the beginning of, I think it was AOL 3.1 or whatever.
Yeah.
It was right when like big push to like subscription. We don't clock minutes anymore.
It's when the glut of CD-ROMs started appearing in every magazine. Fast food places were giving them to you. It was ridiculous.
Just dumps and dumps of those shrink wrapped or just like a piece of cardboard with a disc on top of it. They appear in the mail like every freaking day. Yeah.
And it's funny because this is from a period when I was very computer illiterate, and I didn't understand that the program on the computer isn't my account.
Oh.
So whenever a new version of AOL came out, I didn't realize I can just get one of these discs, install the new version, and then just log in through my account. Every time I was like, no, we have to download the new version of AOL and let it install. And that would literally take all night. I mean, I figured that out pretty quickly, but like my parents were far less knowledgeable about computers than even I was at the time. So it was just like, oh, listen to the boy. He knows the arcane chemistry of this machine.
He hears the beeps and the boops.
Yes. But yeah, I played a game called Terrace for a long time. It informed many aspects of my life for a while, as we've talked about. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into it because it depresses me thinking about it past that point.
See, the funny thing to me with like this balance of like understanding what you went through and trying to figure out like what happened in our two separate journeys was that I exhibited every single sign that an outside observer would have been like, you need to go into that community. And I just didn't know. Like, I mean, I was trolling through chat rooms. I was hooking up with random strangers, pretending to be other people in chat rooms. I was like, all kinds of weird stuff. Very like we used to. I had a list of a couple people that were like teenagers that we used to like go online to AOL back
just
when you could just
people.
And we used to like go into like the Wiccan chat rooms.
Yeah,
and then we basically leave a bread trail, like basically pissing them off, leading them to like the Christian life chat. So we'd start these flame wars and just try to get everybody. And then we'd sit in like the private IM messages back and forth, like just like the most evil, stupid. Why didn't I just think you should have a sword in your hand? Like,
well, I mean, it's funny to really think about it because I did a lot of the same thing. I didn't do quite as evil of things as that, but you know, like AOL had chat rooms and like. The chat rooms you'd have like, oh, this one's for, you know, Detroit. This one's for New York. This one's for Denver. And you'd go into one and you'd be like, oh, this is the one for Houston. Texas sucks. And this, bam, flamed with all this stuff. And you're just like, oh, Denver's better than Texas. Oh, you know, forget Texas, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, if you really feel that way, you need to go tell Denver how you feel. And then you know, it's like this stupid war of people just and that's how easy it was though.
Do you remember like do you remember it being like Houston 1 and Houston 2 and then like a week goes by and it's Houston 1 through 9 and then it's like because it's like you're just
so many
watching the internet grow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then there were so many, and then like you go into like punk rock chat rooms and there'd be like 2 girls and 15 guys.
Yeah.
And the 15 guys would be like, name every band in order of like you're a poser, you need to get out of here. Like,
but it's funny because in reality, that room with 2 girls and 15 guys is actually 17 dudes.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Half the time I was one of the girls, just like yeah, he's a poser. Tell me how strong you are.
Tell me some personal information about yourself, stuff that makes you sad.
It'd be really awesome. You know what would make me really hot right now is if you told me your dad's credit card.
That and the hey, you should call me. Oh God.
Yes.
No. No, he shouldn't.
Never.
The answer to that question is never. No.
So something that should never be committed to internet, but I'm actually going to do it right now is one of my friends, just to prevent any information, I won't describe anything else about them. I ended up realizing they were the kind of person who just didn't understand how dangerous those situations were. And they were the one that shocked all of us by like, I'm going to go call this person. And some of the weirdest stuff happened from those stories.
I'm sure.
Like, why? How did we survive this?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, the point I was getting is that while you found yourself there organically, I went all the way through eventually making was it when we moved up here and I started making that stupid like Microsoft groups.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a story.
And you guys are going to play it out.
Say what's in it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back and fix it. Not like there's an entire industry that solved this problem.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into that a little bit here too, because For me, that was phase one. This area of the internet, this type of role playing, that was phase one. Phase two, for me, was your phase one.
Yeah. There we go.
So yeah, one thing that happened in these online forums and MUDs and things like that is they introduced a common language that people still use today. RP Enforce to mark character servers, OOC for out-of-character chat, Immortals or Wizards for the administrators that are running the games, guild structures, trade economies, and griefing. It's one of the first places griefing started taking place. The infrastructure of modern online play, social hubs, player markets, world resets was mapped out in text before graphics ever caught up. So we were talking about this earlier. This is something I didn't know about, but this is prime time online for me. In 1991, first officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons online game, Neverwinter Nights, in a shared Forgotten Realms setting was created. Lag was constant and visuals primitive, but the concept was unprecedented. Dozens of strangers cooperated inside the same dungeon. For many players, it was their first experience of role-playing with people they never met in person. And this is done on AOL. That's crazy to me. I don't know how I missed this. I would have thought I would have been a prime person for this, but I was too busy playing Terrace.
See, when we had CompuServe, which was per minute, there was a splash page that was like, here's a bunch of the hottest games that you can play. And there was one that was like Mazes and Monsters or something. And I was like sitting there staring at it and I was like, what is that? And like my dad was like, if you go in that, I will lose my truck because you'll be touching, you can't touch the computer anymore. And so like I lost like a year or two of access to the computer because like that existed in our home. And then later on when the internet thing happened, that's when I got it back.
Yeah. And I mean, my big thing too, what limited me and what probably saved me was my family never got a second phone line. So there were strict hours that I could be on the computer. It was usually later at night. I mean, I'm in grade school, so late at night is like 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon, But it's like those are the only hours you can play because we might get a phone call some other time. And there's nothing worse than being in the middle of something and then all of a sudden everything locks up and you just hear someone yell because they pick up the phone and they hear the screech of the modem. No. I was very good, though, at trying to sign into AOL at the exact second that someone was calling. So the phone never rang. So it picked up the phone and started dialing and you'd hear through the computer speaker.
Like I said, hijinks ensued.
Yes. By the early 1990s, these commercial services formed a patchwork of isolated networks, each with its own etiquette and lore. When the broader internet opened to the public, their users carried those habits into news groups and early forums. The idea that you could inhabit a character online, not in a single game, but across an entire network, became ordinary. Collaborative fiction, fan roleplay, and early chat-based LARPs all drew from the same lineage. With Broadband still years away, the mid-1990s saw the first true attempt to translate tabletop continuity into large-scale software. The term persistent world entered the vocabulary with Meridian 59 in 1996 and Ultima Online in 1997. These games offered what text MUDs had promised but couldn't visualize, a continuous environment that remembered the player's actions. Ultima Online's design borrowed directly from tabletop traditions. It offered skill-based progression instead of rigid classes, player-built housing, and an open economy where crime and consequences were real. The murder of the game's creator Avatar, not the creator didn't die, his avatar died, Lord British, during a live event in 1997 became a symbol of online anarchy and an early example of emergent storytelling. It doesn't sound like much, but if you go online and there are videos of this happening, and you see the guy die, and it was all like a mistake. Like, he was supposed to be immortal, and something happened, and someone figured out that like AoE spells could get through the immortality or something like that, and the character died. And the game producers and, everybody else that was in the game went crazy and killed everybody on the server. Like, the apocalypse happened. It was pretty funny. Competitors followed. EverQuest in 1999 expanded the model with 3D graphics and structured raids, while Asheron's Call in 1999 experimented with seasonal world events that mirrored serialized fiction. Each iteration pushed the scale upward, but at a cost. Human narration disappeared. The computer had become the dungeon master. Amidst this industrialization and Part 2, smaller projects preserved the personal tone of tabletop. Neverwinter Nights in 2002, developed by BioWare, reintroduced the human game master through its dedicated DM client. Users could host private servers, populate them with hand-built quests, and manipulate characters in real time. Thousands of persistent worlds appeared, many running custom rule sets of player-written expansions. Communities formed around server reputations and homebrew lore, often lasting longer than the official campaign. It was the first true digital approximation of a home table, scattered, moderated, but personal. So yeah, this is the next thing that hit us.
Yeah, this is the black. So I narrowed in 98. I narrowly dodged EverQuest.
Really?
Because when I got a job at the paint department Sears, one of the guys there, who I'm sure is like a tech billionaire by now, his dad worked for Sun Microsystems, the guys that did Java or JavaScript, one of the two. Can never remember. Anyway, they had a T1 line to their house.
Yeah.
So they had like basically the predecessor to like full broadband, which only like companies would have. And basically he played EverQuest. And like one of the first things he was just like, oh, like you're into all XYZ, you should be playing EverQuest. And I'm just like, yeah, but I don't know, man, like wizards and online. And I kept asking him questions. Like I kept coming back and be like, so tell me about this. And like,
that's crazy that you managed to dodge it.
Yeah. Like you could feel it being dripped into my brain that was like, oh, this is heroin. It's right there for the plucking. But like, oh, I'm a high school kid. I wanted to chase women and stuff. And
I want to chase women.
Stupid ideas. But
yeah, I mean, we got hit with Neverwinter Nights almost completely by accident, because I picked it up again from someone at work who had mentioned, like, I had already played the game. The game had been out for a while by the time that we started playing a Persistent World in there. But someone had mentioned that they played this game, and I was like, that sounds really interesting and something I would like. And I started playing it, and I told you and I told Max about it.
I was over at your apartment, and I saw you play it, and I was like, something about this being a confined, something about it being like one-time purchase, and it being like, I don't know, it felt more confined. Like it didn't feel as threatening as like, oh, this is like an MMO or this is like EverQuest.
Right.
I was like, I could do that. And
hooked.
I went in and I was just like, oh man, this server is kind of hard, and like this character doesn't work, and I think I have to learn this system better, because the single player you could like just breeze through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I made my second character, and I ran out the door of the town, and I ran into the forest, and someone ran past and went, hey, is that you? Great, is that you? And I was like, huh? Oh. Because the stupid name I used, and it was like, it was over.
Yeah,
and then it was like, the next thing I knew, I was like, oh crap, the sun went down and came up.
Well, and it was funny because at that time, I was living in an apartment with Max, and we're both, like, he's not playing, but you and I are both playing, and we're like into it. And he's like, what is this thing you guys are playing? We're like, dude, you need to play this. And he's like, no, I don't think that's the type of thing for me. And I just went and bought it, gave it to him. And I said, install this on your computer. Or you did. Did you buy it for him? One of us bought it for him. I just can't remember. Install this on your computer and just try it. Because I don't think he ever played the single player. Like, he got right in, and he was hooked worse than you and I were. Like, he was canceling plans with family to play the game because he advanced much quicker than we did.
He did.
And like
we all fell to our like inevitable pitfalls.
Yeah.
But yes, his was to race to the top.
Right. And like he made a bunch of mistakes that you and I were like, oh, we won't do that. But yeah, he got hard into it. And we like literally for like a year and a half, like that was our free time.
I was playing and we were doing a Crips run.
Mm-hmm.
And we were running around, and my father came into my room and told me there was a tornado outside. I said, I'll be right there. And then he came in like 20 minutes later.
The tornado's gone.
It's gone. And it was down the street. And I was like, whoops.
But you didn't even lose power?
No, I remember going, hey guys, if I have to leave, it's because of the tornado. And he's like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it. Let me buff you up again.
Yeah. Oh, that game devoured us for a long time. And it was so much fun, but that was our first real group experience with role playing with other people, because we did to an extent role play. It wasn't 100%, accurate all the time, but we did our best, and
we kept trying to like hit those things, but it was like putting your toes in the water.
Yeah,
we kept like, oh, it's a little chilly, but like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and then like anything that happened, immediately bringing it back to everybody else and be like, oh my god, this thing happened.
But it's like, it's funny because for me, playing the game, I was like, I had a bunch of characters that had a particular moniker at the end that always symbolized that it was me playing the character. And for me, it was enough to have that with you and Max playing. But you and Max were like, we need to make a guild type thing. And I never really understood that at the time, because I was just like, why do we have to do that? I like having our little, mafia that we've got going on here as we destroy the game economy.
Yeah, no, it was like I always say that, like, and Max is half me, half you. That's what I always think about it as. He shares like everything he has, one of us has, like back and forth. So he shares this myth. We're like looking down a hallway and someone's put a bunch of traps in it. We will hit every single trap while walking down that hallway. And so we were just like, I have to go write lore about this. Like just everything, like everything that happens that you're like the cliche things.
Nerd.
I know, just like all the cliche stuff that you would see happen to somebody, like just on the nail, on the head, on the nail, on the head, nail on the head. Yeah. Just, oh my gosh, just seeing how much that description box could hold.
Yes.
I gotta fill this whole thing up so people understand.
Well, and you remember he tried creating, oh my God, what's that game? Kingsfield. When he figured out that you could make the game, like he tried doing that, and then he tried doing it with Morrowind, Oblivion. He tried doing the same thing with it. It's like, I need to make Kingsfield.
To remake all of Kingsfield myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was making Brust modules.
Yeah.
Because I made like a little thing where you come in and you talk to a dude and he's like, boss is upstairs.
Yeah. I think I played one of those, but like there wasn't a whole lot there at the time.
Yeah.
All right, back on topic. The single-player computer RPGs of the era still leaned heavily on tabletop DNA. Baldur's Gate in 1998 adapted AD&D and THAC0 tables into code. Planescape Torment in 1999 treated philosophical dialogue as gameplay. Neverwinter Nights in 2006 and Temple of Elemental Evil in 2003 simulated tactical combat almost exactly as it appeared in print. These were attempts to preserve the structure of tabletop within the convenience of software, but none replaced the creative chaos of a live DM. Outside the commercial market, web forums hosted play-by-post games that combined literary writing with DiceBot scripts. Sites like ENWorld and RPG.net archived thousands of campaigns and permanent text. The internet had become the new record keeper of play, ensuring that, unlike the ephemeral home tables of the 1970s, these worlds would never fully vanish. By 2004, role-playing existed in three parallel forms: the commercial MMO and its industrial loop, the modded server with its volunteer dungeon masters, and the enduring tabletop groups now experimenting with digital coordination. The next phase would fuse those strands, rebuilding the table itself inside the network. The first decade of the new century closed the gap between code and conversation. Broadband spread, laptops replaced desktops, and software began reconstructing the missing table inside the network. Early attempts were clumsy but determined. OpenRPG in 2000 offered shared maps and text chat. Klugeworks in 2002 added automation for initiative and dice macros. Fantasy Grounds, released in 2004, refined the idea into a commercial product with a simulated tabletop, draggable tokens, and programmable dice. Its interface mimicked the physical ritual of play: parchment textures, leather bindings, and digital clatter when dice rolled. These tools created a paradox. The more accurately they reproduced the physical experience, the more they revealed what could not be digitized: tone, timing, and the unspoken rhythm of conversation. Voice returned to fill the void. Ventrilo and TeamSpeak provided the first stable group voice channels by 2005. Skype had become the de facto environment for remote campaigns later. Players once divided by continents could now speak, interrupt, and laugh in real time. It was the closest thing yet to a shared room. At the same time, tabletop publishing changed format. Wizards of the Coast Open Games license had turned the mechanics of D&D 3rd edition into a public framework. PDF storefronts such as DriveThruRPG and RPG Now gave independent designers global reach without warehouses or print runs. Systems like Fate, Savage Worlds, and Burning Wheel found audiences through download links rather than distributors. The hobby's production pipeline had gone digital long before its tables did. Crowdfunding solidified the shift. Kickstarter, founded in 2009, transformed design from speculation to pre-order. FateCore in 2013 and Numenera in 2013 proved that rules-heavy books could fund in days through direct patronage. The model mirrored the internet's logic: smaller, distributed, self-publishing ecosystems connected through backer updates instead of trade magazines. By the early 2010s, a generation that had grown up on MMOs was returning to pen and paper systems with digital support. Roll20, launched in 2012, combined mapping, character sheets, and integrated voice in a browser window. Its ease of access turned running a game online from a technical project into a weekend activity. Entire conventions organized around it, and by 2014, hundreds of thousands of users were running campaigns entirely inside web tabs. Parallel to these tools, another experiment began turning play into spectacle. Penny Arcade's Acquisitions Incorporated started in 2008 as a podcast collaboration with Wizards of the Coast. It presented Dungeons & Dragons as entertainment, edited sessions, recurring characters, and live convention shows. What had once been private improvisation became a performance medium. The groundwork was laid for the next phase, the moment when the tables became public. In 2015, a home game of Los Angeles voice actors began streaming their sessions under the name Critical Role. Within months, it became the largest single audience for tabletop role-playing in history, and still is. Viewers watched not for mechanics, but for the visible process of collaboration, story emerging in real time through conversations. The format validated what decades of design had tried to prove: play itself could be a finished product. Podcast networks followed. The Adventure Zone, Friends at the Table, High Rollers, and Glass Cannon redefined the medium around pacing, editing, and sound design. Instead of rule explanations, audiences received character drama. Instead of combat logs, they heard narrative arcs. A subculture of actual play had formed, merging the intimacy of radio with the participatory ethos of gaming. Streaming altered expectations of game design. Systems that required minimal rules explanation thrived. Apocalypse World in 2010 and its descendants, Dungeon World, Monster of the Week, Blades in the Dark, favored narrative moves over tables of modifiers. Their mechanics assumed an audience, simple enough for listeners to follow, expressive enough for performers to dramatize. Commercial publishing adjusted in response. Wizards of the Coast launched D&D 5th edition with emphasis on accessibility and cinematic flow. Companion apps and digital rule sets began appearing within months. When D&D Beyond debuted in 2017, it consolidated rulebooks, character generation, and automation into a cloud service. The most analog game on the planet had become subscription software. Virtual tabletops adapted. Roll20 integrated streaming overlays and direct export to Twitch. Fantasy Grounds Unity updated its engine for modern graphics. Foundry VTT introduced modular open-sourced architecture, allowing communities to build custom systems from the ground up. Digital play was no longer a substitute for in-person gaming, it was its own environment, optimized for permanence and visibility. The culture around play changed as well. Dice companies, miniature painters, and terrain crafters experienced parallel booms driven by visible exposure on camera. Conventions scheduled actual play panels alongside developer keynotes. For the first time since the 1970s, tabletop roleplay had mainstream visibility, but mediated through broadband instead of basements. This era also redefined the boundary between player and audience. That chat window became a form of participation. Fan art and live recreations were incorporated into show narratives. What had begun as a game of improvisation evolved into collaborative transmedia. The table was no longer a private stage, it was a content pipeline. By 2020, the term campaign meant two things: a story told by friends and a series of episodes published on a schedule. Dice rolls were streamed, rules referenced by hyperlink, and entire worlds existed simultaneously as podcasts, wikis, and video archives. The table had returned, but it no longer belonged solely to the people sitting at it. When global lockdowns began in 2020, tabletop gaming lost its defining quality, physical presence. Stores closed, conventions vanished, and home groups scattered. Yet, unlike most hobbies, role-playing had already spent decades experimenting with distance. The infrastructure existed, it simply scaled overnight. Roll20, Foundry VTT, and Fantasy Grounds Unity reported record growth within weeks. Discord servers replaced living rooms, webcams replaced dice trays, and campaigns that once met monthly now ran twice a week. The virtual table stopped being an alternative and became the default. Out of necessity came specialization. Some players learned to master lighting effects, dynamic fog, and soundscapes. Others discovered that running online games could be more than a pastime. Platforms such as Games, launched in 2020, formalized the idea of the professional game master. It functioned like a booking service. Players scheduled sessions, paid hourly rates, and rated the DM afterward. For the first time, storytelling itself became gig labor. The Uber Eats of DMing. Mm-hmm. Paid GMing did not appear from nowhere. Conventions had long hired referees for organized play, and independent designers had sold custom scenarios for private groups. What changed was scale. The internet made it routine. Thousands of DMs listed games every week, charging anywhere from $5 to $50 per seat. Some built full-time incomes, others treated it as supplemental work. The practice mirrored the larger gig economy. Personal skill distributed through digital platforms with built-in feedback metrics. Got that Yelp on our DM tonight. Man. Corporate structures evolved in parallel. Wizards of the Coast purchased D&D Beyond in 2022, consolidating rulebooks, character builders, and subscription data under one ecosystem. Its parent company, Hasbro, announced plans for an official digital play environment, a move that blurred the line between publisher and platform provider. Competitors responded. Paizo supported open-source modules for Foundry. Kobold Press and others launched their own licensing frameworks after the 2023 OGL controversy exposed the risks of corporate control over digital rule systems. Beyond official products, independent creators turned virtual tables into laboratories. Foundry's modding scene produced automated rule sets for hundreds of games, from Call of Cthulhu to Shadowdark, written by volunteers distributing free updates through GitHub. Patreon replaced magazine subscriptions. Designers published directly to their audiences, maintaining small ecosystems of players who funded continued development. The distribution model that had once defined Dragon Magazine now lived in Discord threads and cloud storage. AI-driven tools entered quietly but rapidly. Sigh. Programs capable of generating names, maps, or even full adventure prompts became common aids. Some platforms experimented with autonomous game masters that could respond to natural language prompts, an echo of the Plato terminals from half a century earlier. If they could perfect AI DMing, that'd be awesome, but also a great loss.
Yeah, like we had a whole podcast about this, but I mean, the real the lucrative stuff is the tools.
Yeah,
like with the ability to generate images. Eventually, we're going to get a thing where the DM could basically on the fly when someone it's oh we're going to get into a fight, and the DM's just okay, generate a battle map with a crash ship on the right, this on the left, blah 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 blah, and then it's there, and then you're going. That is the point we want.
Why does it keep making the maps with an anime cat girl in the corner? Oh, that's previous data.
It's part of my pre-engineered prompts.
Culturally, the shift produced both expansion and fatigue. Online groups offered unprecedented inclusivity. Players from different continents, time zones, and accessibility needs could share a campaign seamlessly. At the same time, constant connectivity blurred boundaries. The hobby adopted the cadence of streaming schedules, sessions treated as episodes, breaks measured in audience retention. The distinction between game night and content nearly disappeared. Man, I'd hate it if our games got so popular that people would watch them and we'd have to be like, oh no, we have to, we can't take a break. There's too many people watching, or we're making too much money from people watching us.
Okay, well, the money thing aside, but there's a weird, serious discussion there. But
anyway. Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
By the mid-2020s, the modern role-playing ecosystem consisted of overlapping economies: subscription access to digital rules, marketplaces for maps, music, and tokens, freelance storyteller labor, streaming channels functioning as both advertisement and performance. Every piece of the hobby that had once been volunteer-driven, DMs, playtesters, fan artists, could now be monetized. The table had become an industry again, just as it had been in the late 1970s, but this time the distribution network was global and instant. Even amid commercialization, experimentation continued. Analog revitalists emphasized physical minimalism. Zine format games like Mothership, Into the Odd, and Knave used print and play PDFs as rebellion against corporate digital sprawl. Others blended both worlds, running minimalist rule sets over VTTs with cinematic production values. The distinction between physical and digital, amateur and professional, had effectively dissolved. By 2025, the landscape resembled a fully decentralized industry. A campaign could exist entirely inside a single browser tab or unfold across Twitch, Patreon, and Foundry simultaneously. Every participant was both consumer and publisher. The network had become the table. Half a century after Dungeons & Dragons introduced role-playing as a social form, its digital descendants trace an unbroken sequence of adaptation. The medium changed tools, not intent. From the mailed turns of play by post to the data centers hosting modern VTTs, each generation solved distance by inventing new limitations. Text MUDs replace voice with imagination. MMOs replace imagination with persistence. Streaming replaced persistence with audience. Virtual tabletops close the loop, reproducing the table inside the network. What emerged is not a single lineage, but a constant negotiation between connection and control. The early digital experiments, Plato's D&D, Mud 1, Terrace, and AOL's Neverwinter Nights, proved that collaborative fiction could survive translation into code. Later systems industrialized the process, turning shared stories into managed economies, yet beneath every iteration lies the same structure: a set of rules negotiated in real time by people choosing to imagine together. Rainbow.
I just had a premonition.
Yes.
We've talked about it. It's been said, but I think I see the next big jump.
Okay, let's hear it.
So somebody...
It's a good thing nobody's listening to this, because
I know, really. I want... Okay, this is going to go on record.
Yes.
Because this is going to be my, I want to wait. We got to start a timer until this happens.
Okay.
Someone with some money is going to put together a team that has the ability to sort through assets very quickly and throw stuff together efficiently and well to do a full VR like role play team to support the DM, and that's going to be a show.
Just watching those people do that?
Watching like the people play. It's going to be where voice actors are replaced by actors. Because they're going to be in their full VR rigs. They're going to be doing the whole thing. And then a crew is going to be like, you know, the DM's going to have like the notes, like, okay, get this ready for me. And a crew's going to be like, load that exterior, boom. And it's going to blend the weirdest thing of like, now all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh, I'm a movie director. And they're going to be like, this is the first true VR TTRPG live play in VR space. And then they're going to take it one step further, which I actually thought of a while ago, but that was then people can be the VR audience. Yeah. They can watch it happen. That's right now. Let's start. I'm doing the Nostradamus thing. This is a prediction. Let's see how long it takes for this to become a reality. So I think we have all the pieces together.
Yeah. Everything already exists that you're talking about.
Someone's got to put it all together and put it out there. Come on, Brendan Lee Mulligan. Come on, man. Think about it. You have all like cyberspace and you could just control. You want to do like, oh my God, you rolled in the wild magic surge and the universe explodes.
And the universe explodes. That would be pretty cool. You'd almost... Wouldn't it be badass to do something like that on the Disney... that soundstage they have with the full...
the volume?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Because that's the DM room I want.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go through and preload all those assets, and just, like, as I'm going, I'm like, okay, cool, switch to this one. Boom, let's go. And, like, to open up the freedom of, like, you don't even have to be around the table. People could walk around.
Yeah.
Like, and all that stuff, in like, I mean, I basically pitched this as something that we should have put together as a game, where I was like... Before I got laid off to everybody, I was like, this is the thing we need to make. Like,
no, I'm depressed because I don't have a job.
Yeah, no. It's weird. I have a lot of feelings, but I'm just a person. I've realized that opinions don't need to be shared all the time. I think like there's a thing in life where you enter a period of your life where you have to sit back and say, hey, sometimes you're the kid going on to BBSs and MUDs and just exploring and being exposed to stuff you probably shouldn't be exposed to.
And then sometimes you're the guy getting catfished.
And then sometimes you're part of the community. Sometimes you're leading the community. And then eventually you get to the point where you're just trying to like pull back, settle into your own space and enjoy the rest of your ride. And like, that's okay. That's okay too. It needs to happen. So all these people that have like these crazy, like, case in point, today I was listening to like somebody do like a Twitch drama breakdown of the fall of some streamer, and the streamer was a professional D&D content maker whose sole thing was playing in curated games.
Wow.
And I was like, how can you exist?
Right?
But like, that's the world we live in. That's the world the people who are listening to this live in. And you know, God bless them. It's weird. But on the same side, we also, like, people like Max's kid.
Yeah.
In 5 years or so, will be able to, like, sit down with his friends from school online and, like, every Wednesday play D&D over Discord.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So, you know, with the good comes the bad and the weird. And we just got to find our way to, you know, monetize it so we can
it's all got to be monetized.
Build that farm out in Montana.
Yeah, God. We want to build an RP commune.
Yeah, we want to take over a small town and build RP events.
Yes.
That is like the genie.
Like we want to buy a town. We want to build it up so it's, you know, a functioning town. And we want to hire people to live in that town and work in that town. And then we want to have RP events that happen in the town with the town as part of the event.
Yeah, like every October, all the weekends, it's just, you know, World of Darkness live play.
Yeah.
Just like all kinds of plot lines.
We'll have the coolest, scariest church in America.
That's where it starts. Oh God, we can only just. I mean, like the mortgage on that church was not that bad.
I think it's still for sale.
Yeah, I know. It's not like I don't keep checking it. All right. Well, with that, we'll lead you to the dark future that you find yourself in.
Yeah.
See you.
Goodbye.